What's up, everyone? We're here with Yoshii from Modern Reptile. Um,
Hello.
how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm hanging out. I got my blue tongues behind me, like you.
Yeah. Um, so when did you start Modern Reptile?
Ooh, so modern reptile. I think that so originally I think it was around 2015. I started it. I only worked with turtles and tortoises at that time, so it was a completely different name. We were called Half Shell Ranch. And then over time that went into HSR Exotics. And then I realized that I was like, damn, everybody and their mother has like a name in this industry that's like acronym exotics, acronym reptiles. So again, rebranded and now Modern Reptile.
Well, and the nice thing with that name, whatever species you're working with fits underneath it.
Correct. Correct.
So since winters came, how has been keeping outside going?
It's been good. So keeping outside, it's very hands-on. As far as like you're keeping is not how do I say your keeping is determined on the weather. Obviously, if it's cold, but also like, is it raining? Is it going to be cloudy and stuff like that? So something that I'm doing a lot right now at night is I'm covering the blue tongue enclosures completely with a black plastic it's pretty much like a trash bag but very long. It's what the painters use when somebody's painting inside your house, what they put on the floor.
Yeah.
That's I'm using that to kind of like keep whatever heat is in the enclosures in there so that way they can do well throughout the nights.
What's the coldest it usually gets by you?
Um this weekend is I think is gonna be the lowest temperature probably for the year. I know that the year just started, but we're about to get over our quote unquote winter spell and it's gonna get 37. The coldest it's gotten so far is in the low 40s.
So
Yeah.
just with the plastic, and then I'm guessing you got some type of mulch or something in there for them to dig in.
Yeah, I have about I think it's 6 to 8 inches of cypress mulch in the enclosure. I have a whole bunch of like tubes that even go inside of the mulch so that way they could really burrow inside. Hey, look, that's me. So yeah, and then those bags, those same bags of cypress, I'll even use those um unopened in the enclosure on top of cinder blocks so that way it acts like as insulation and the animals are really able to keep warm in there as needed.
So is there a certain temperature you need to like bring them inside, or in theory it shouldn't get that cold?
In theory, it shouldn't get that cold. I know that I don't know if you're familiar with Heather and Ron.
Yep.
So Heather and Ron, they also keep. I got pretty much the idea of this from them, and they've kept their blue tongues outside no matter what the temperature is, pretty well. I think last year they even had like a puddle of water that throughout like a cold spell like turned into ice, and the animals, all of their animals were outside and doing well. That Ron posted on his Facebook. So I haven't had any issues yet keeping them like this. Obviously, I'm monitoring. This is the first time that I'm doing these kinds of cages because, as you can see behind me, I got racks. This is how I used to keep them, and I'm just trying to move everything as much as I can to get some to get some UV and to be a little bit more naturalistic.
Well, and since you can utilize it, it gives you the opportunity to maybe even put some more stuff inside,
Yeah,
since you're going to have some of the skinks outside. How'd you
yeah,
decide
yeah.
your groups?
So in there, I have a sunrise group. I have pretty much the animals that are in there, they're either like very specific lines or they're classics since it's like a testing phase for me. All of my quote unquote high end, like my Fuego project, my really dark stuff, my ivory stuff, all of that stuff stayed inside. All of that stuff stayed inside because I was like, I'm not, I could have a little bit more of a hands on approach with that stuff. The thing is that I was getting to a point of keeping the blue tongues where I didn't feel like the racks fit the animals. I was like, I understood where they were, what place they had back then, but now I feel like I should be able to offer them more. And also, I had way too many adults for me to just like watch breed, you know. So it was getting a little bit unmanageable. So I even considered, selling some of the animals. But then I was like, you know what? Let's try this outside stuff. We'll do a couple groups. I'm keeping them in. It's a male and two females each, and hopefully they're able to reproduce.
So if everything goes well, you gonna build more for next year?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You had Manny on. He took what when I showed him the one that I did. He like saw that he made it a million times better, and he did like a bunch of them. So now I got to get on that level. That's my boy. I got to get on that level.
Do you got enough room to like build 60 or
No, no.
no?
Realistically, I could probably put one or two more of what I have out there.
That's still a good amount,
Yeah, for sure.
especially with a trio in each. I mean, I don't know how big you plan on getting with them, but you'd be able to produce a good amount of babies with that.
Yeah, I'd love for the blue tongues to be kind of like the number one priority. I do work with other species, some different turtles, tortoises, some pythons, ball pythons. But I would like the blue tongues to be the focus. I really see that as like the future of lizards. I think that they're like the best pet lizard compared to a bearded dragon. That's a similar size.
Well, and I 100% agree with that. That's why I got a whole garage with them. But,
Yeah.
man. So when would you guess they'll breed outside?
From what I understand, it's later. Where right now I'm already like pairing animals. The animals outside, they're still in brumation. So I think that they're gonna be going closer to like they're probably gonna be waking up mid-February, maybe anywhere between February to April. They'll probably be doing their thing.
Well,
Which, yeah, in my head is like kind of like a good thing because then I'm like I'm gonna have rounds of babies instead of all the babies at the same time.
yeah, that should make your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
You could sell some and you won't have to keep, maybe you'll have 20 here, 50 there.
Yeah.
How many
Honestly,
females are you?
sorry, continue.
Oh, how many girls are you going to breed this year?
Oh, so right now, one, two, three, four, five, six. Probably as far as the ones that are inside, another 10 or 12. I have some that I've been raising that I need to see if they are going to be girls. But yeah, I'm trying to do 10 or 12 inside and then whatever goes outside. If I get one litter outside, that's an absolute win for me. It could be one. So,
Well, hopefully you'll get, maybe one in each enclosure at least,
yeah.
or
Yeah. That would be cool too. But if I get one, then I'm like, okay, I did something right. I just got to
yeah.
replicate. Yeah.
Well, and it's a learning period. It's the first time you're doing it outside. I'm sure Ron and Heather didn't have 100% success rate their first couple of years.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm excited. Definitely excited.
Do you offer any special meals or supplements to your gravid females?
Um, I'll the ones in the past I've offered I've offered pinkies to some females and stuff like that as they're developing, and but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. I'm doing as far as like my diet goes, I have a standard like wet dog food. It's that Nature's Logic. Um the chicken feast one, and then I have some insectivore pellets. I'll put insectivore pellets in there. I'm even trying the Missouri tortoise pellets, the herbivore ones. So I'm gonna be playing a little bit more with the diet this year, especially with the animals that are outside that are, getting in UV and stuff like that. I want to go. I just want to surpass the stuff that I've done like before. Like I want to do better. I want to progress with my keeping, progress with my care.
Why the herbivore pellets, not like omnivore, or do they not make omnivore pellets?
Um, they have insectivore ones. I don't know if they have the omnivore ones, but just because they can, and I'm never offering it just the pellet. So I'll mix the pellet with the dog food. So I'm just kind of like playing around with some of the diet and see how the animals do.
Well, and especially with the adults, extra greens or grains isn't a bad thing in a way. They won't need as much protein as a growing baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever thought much about why males are more vigorous at certain times during breeding?
You know, I've that is something that has been in my head a lot this year because it's I'm having such a difficult time right now. My work schedule's a little bit weird. So I'm trying to breed I feel like I'm breeding way too early in the morning, and then sometimes I'm breeding way too late at night, and then some males are behaving differently depending on the day, and then some males are not doing anything. Some males are like extra aggressive that I'm not used to. Honestly, it's just something that's been in my head, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with some of it.
You have males and females in the same room, right? I'm guessing.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
in the same rack.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure like if maybe they could tell if, females are releasing more pheromones at certain times and that's why they're more aggressive maybe.
Hmm.
You
Have
know, so
you have you experienced in your breeding? Have you experienced weird behavior from a male that's in shed when you're trying to pair them?
define weird like having
Just
trouble
like
getting.
either he's like not interested, or like if like I have a male right now that was breeding really well, and then he's in shed now, and it's like if he can't figure it out. I'm just like, dude, you were breeding the past 4 days, and now you're just not doing your thing.
Sometimes they can't get their hemipene out when they're in shed.
Mm,
I've
gotcha.
seen them struggle, especially like right before the shed's coming off. Like it will take the male like maybe 4 extra times trying to get it in before it actually comes out.
Yeah.
Just
Mm,
it's the shed's constricting it somewhat where he can't fully avert it as easy.
got you. Yeah, I've had males in the past that like they haven't had like much issue with breeding. So, I don't always, take out the males that are in shed. But being that I'm like very limited to the stock that I have inside now, like I'm kind of like grasping at straws, which has kind of been fun because it's like I feel like I'm starting again, being a little bit more like I got to figure this out, I got to figure that out since I have a little bit less animals to pick from. So I'll take that into consideration.
Are you Do you feel like you're short on males inside?
I was short on males the past few years. Um, but the year before I moved to Central Florida, I I had like a whole bunch of holdbacks. And luckily this year that they're breeding, the majority of those have been males. So now like, I have just about a 1.1 for a lot of the stuff, a lot of my projects.
Well, and that's, kind of the almost needed ratio, or,
Yeah.
40% males to 60% females or something like that, maybe slightly
Yep.
more, but
Yeah.
so it just
I've tried
am-
it. Sorry, I was gonna say I've tried it in like all kinds of ways. Like I've tried it like similar to the way that some people breed ball pythons, just like a male to four females, a male to three females, a male to two females. And I've found that like just a male to a female, and if he can go to the other female, fine. But like just like keep in your head, try to at least get one female with the male. That's kind of where I've been at with that.
well, and I've noticed after a certain point too, you're kind of diminishing return, like once you start breeding four females with one male, maybe 50% of them might get gravid, whereas, if he did two and another male did two, all of them might get pregnant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it might just be some of your males are just a couple days behind, even
Yeah.
because in like on my room, one rack was probably a week before the rest, and then and they're 4 feet away, and then the final one is another week behind those. So I kind of had a struggle with. I did some of my younger males to 2 or 3, and then finally the older ones finally started going.
Yeah, that's something that I really enjoy about the blue tongues is that it has to be hands on. You have to have your like you have to have your wits. When I was when I was solely breeding ball pythons, it was so quote unquote scientific that it's just like you do A and then B and then C and then D and then you will get this. But I was like, man, I want to find something that's going to be a little bit more like I have to be a part of it. I have to, be in it. And, I found that in Blue Tongues.
Have you noticed you change a lot each year?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, every year feels like a new lesson. And I really do try to approach it like if it's at like every year is my first year breeding Blue Tongues. Just so that way I don't hold myself back from, like just limiting myself. I don't want to limit myself. I want to learn a little bit more every year.
That is, a really great way to look at it, because realistically we're all still learning. I've been getting, maybe 50% success some years, or some years even less, or
Yeah.
and I noticed from my first year to now, I have some of the same steps, but a lot is completely different.
Yeah.
Like, I'll spread out my pairings now, where my first year I did them, each day right after each other.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite projects then in Blue Tongues?
As far as as just in general, or as far as what I'm working with?
Uh, what your work with? Yeah, what you're working with? Yeah.
Um, for sure, like my Fuego project stuff. Um, that's like always going to be one of the things that are at the top, and then I have ivories, so that's also very like high on the priority list. So Fuego stuff and ivories.
Have you mixed any of your fuego to your black yet?
Yes, I do have some of that. I'd love to show you an animal, but it's in shed, and also for some reason, red animals never look the same in a photo or on video.
Yeah.
They just never do. But I have one that is like like a very gorgeous red color, and like it's like it's unlike other reds where I feel like some reds like dull out. or go orange, it stayed red and it's kind of like a highlighter red, and then it just has very good black bands. So that's kind of like what I'm specifically trying to do. It's like keep the bright red that doesn't go orange, that doesn't dull out, where we also have nice dark bands so we get that contrast. That's kind of like what my goal is with the Fuego project.
Are you gonna try to take it a step further to see if you can get like 70% black with some nice red, or haven't thought that far ahead?
Yes and no, because I know that like the pitch black stuff that Frank Payne is that he's doing a lot now. That stuff is very nice. Uh, and if I could get some of that red in there, cool. But for those kinds of projects that I have, like I just want a stark like black animal.
And just go more towards the solid black?
Yeah. Because those animals are just ridiculous.
Would even with potential more hypers coming down the road?
The thing is with the thing is with the hypers, um, I don't have a lot of experience with Easterns. I've had I've had an albino that was loaned out to me that was he was old, so I didn't expect much, but it wasn't a great experience. I expected it, but I also hear sometimes can be, sometimes it's a similar story with the hypermelanistics that some of the males have some kinds of issues. Uh, and I don't know, like I think a nice like high black northern is unique in its own way. Not that I wouldn't want to go into some Eastern stuff, but it's like one of those things. When I get there, I get there. Like that's something that I for sure would probably breed outside. But I think that a nice high black northern is very cool. Frank Payne stuff right now is ridiculous.
They are beautiful animals,
Yeah.
yeah. I had one from Diana, and
Yes.
Franks were even better on top of that.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're working on your projects, how do you outcross to breed for desired traits without causing any inbreeding issues personally?
So what I did with the specifically with the Fuego stuff, I got the red lines, pretty much one of everything. One of the other red lines that were there. I had some magma stuff. I had this person's red line, that person's red line, some sunset stuff, and I kind of like bred those together, then bred those offspring together, and now I have the Fuego, right? And then so this year my Fuego stuff is going to some of the best red animals that I've gotten from Manny, and I'm just like trying my best to like minimize having to cross like relatives. But obviously, I mean, we have very limited blood here in the states, so we have to do what we have to do. But if we could spread it out, we should.
So do you go for set percent related, or
Not not really. It's just I honestly I don't even think I've been doing this long enough where I've had to cross siblings together. Because I'm always, either getting something from somebody else that's been working with something for a long time and trying my best to, keep the collection flowing with new blood as much as possible.
well,
Yeah.
it
I'm
sounds like
also sorry, I was gonna say
keep
I'm
going.
also not afraid, like in the future, of like some of the. I know it's like a weird topic in the blue tongue community, but I'm not afraid of like eventually like having a part of the Fuego project where I cross it into like IJs or something like that, just so that way like it's just completely fresh blood. It's not even remotely related. Uh, but that would be specifically for pet trade morph style projects.
Well, and the IJs do have some nice red.
Yeah.
um, so are you planning on adding any other rare genetics or like westerns, alpine blotches?
Ah, I have I'd have to think about it. I know that for sure I'll get into Eastern morphs. Like that just it's gonna happen, because I wanna I just want to be involved a lot in the Blue Tongue game, and that's gonna be an important part of it. Uh, but I do really like the blotched. I think that if I had money that I could just splurge, like that'd probably be one of the first things that I get, just out of like personal preference.
Well, and I think they'd be good to try outside too.
Yeah, yeah. I get so nervous. I'm just like, damn, dude. I'm just putting this amount of money just outside. It's kind of scary. I get nervous.
Well, if everything goes good, the next 2 years, how you got it, you'll have more experience, more confidence.
Yeah,
It is definitely nerve wracking getting them cold. I get mine in the 50s, but they seem to handle it pretty well. So they'd be able to, withstand it, burrow down deep.
yeah.
I don't know.
Sometimes I forget. I mean, and by no means am I like the expert of blue tongues in any way, but sometimes I do forget that I've been doing this for a while, and I should be a little bit more confident in my practices. Yeah.
It takes time, we're learning, and we no one's ever 100%, sadly.
Yeah.
We're maybe 10 more years we'll have it figured out. You do this exact thing, you'll get 95% success rate, but I
Yeah.
still get lots of slugs. I still get ones that do nothing at all.
Yeah. And also, dude, I got to give you your flowers, man. A lot of the orange stuff that you're putting out there, some of your stuff is ridiculous. Every time I see it online, I'm like, dude, this guy's crazy right now.
Well, it's getting better each year, and I luckily, Ray and Fen did a lot of work before to get orange and red to where it was, where I got it, to, try to expand on where they went. I still think there's a ton of ways to go still from where I'm at, though. Sorry.
You're
Um,
good.
on your ivories, are they all solid white as adults?
The ones that I picked, I specifically picked for them to not be all white. I kind of have a perspective with them. I think because they're pretty much white northerns from Australia, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I do think that ivory is a good name for it, and I've said this a million times, but it's like they remind me so much of an ivory ball python. And there are different ways, different genes that you could put into the ivory, like enchi, like leopard, that will bring out pattern on a snake that's pretty much all white, right? So that being said, I chose these ivory blue tongues that had a lot of pattern that I was hoping would into adulthood keep some of that pattern. One of them kept it very well, the other one is kind of faded, but I want to put in some of these dark polygenic line bred northerns into that. I want to put even some of the more aberrant northerns that I might have, even some of the high color like the fuegos, the sunrise, and see if we can bring out some of these colors and patterns into the what is supposed to be an all white northern. Like if we could bring out a little bit of color and pattern in there, and it's just like stark white with like maybe good pink and a little bit of banding or a little bit of pattern, they're going to be awesome.
Well, and maybe over time you can get it closer to like the cow retics, where they keep a couple different, say you'd mix it with the black and you'll have black spots, kind of like a pied, and then maybe you mix the fuego to it, and you could have some red, like whether they're
Yeah.
Dalmatian spots or pied spots, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah,
I do
that'd be
think
dope.
I do think that is a good idea. I wondered, and probably the only way to know for sure would be breeding it out. I was gonna see if you thought like the stuff Kara has might be the same or similar to because they're
It's hard to
solid.
say. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think that the only way that we're gonna find out is when those two animals breed together. You know, and I think the future of blue tongues is bright. I'm so excited for a lot of the stuff that's coming out.
Well, and I'm kind of hoping it, kind of like the crested geckos. At first there was not a whole lot, and then now there's, I don't know, 7 mutations or maybe more.
Yeah,
It's I got the one I'm hoping to prove out, and I did the data that to a white northern just to make sure they're not the same. They
yeah,
shouldn't be, but you never know. I also wonder though, maybe it could be like how there's so many like different bells in ball pythons, like whether you got lesser and all the ones that make it.
yeah,
So it could just be like a different type that's
yeah.
similar but different.
Somewhat allelic in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have the expos been in Florida recently?
Um, they've been okay. The last two that I went to were really good. But that's usually like the two that do very good. This past year I did a couple out of state. I did some Georgia Repticons. I did a North Carolina one, and those were also like good experiences. It's just in general like the market's slow right now. Blue tongue prices are a little low. Even ball python prices are all over the place. It's just a weird time. Weird time.
Well, and I think the overall economy has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everyone has as much extra spending money, so they're not going to buy as many pets. And,
Mhm.
it works its way up the chain, from small breeders all the way to like the big ball python breeders that are full time.
Yeah.
So, what's your kind of like your sales strategy then for this year? Expos, Morph Market, or going to go?
So I specialize literally like in e-commerce, but I niched it down all the way to reptiles. So pretty much like I do web stuff for reptiles to generate sales, right? So I'm gonna put a lot of effort into my website this year. Um, I'm gonna still put the same amount of effort into Morph Market, put stuff up on Morph Market. I'm gonna do my expos. I do like usually at least one a month. Um, it's something that I've been meaning to do that I haven't done in a long time. Just because the Blue Tongue community was weird for a while. I want to be more active in the groups. I always forget that I should be posting there. I should be, part of the community. It just seemed for a little bit like a lot of the people were kind of rude, you know?
Yeah, that's the nice way to put it. Like, but and it wasn't really to me or anything either. But I just, you hear a lot of stories in the past that, but
I mean, dude,
a
like
lot
there
of
was I
stuff's
remember
changing.
yeah, I remember a time where like so many people were excited to be part of like that community and like they would go in and they would post their blue tongue that they just bought and they just wanted to be part of the community and it just like most cases happen to be an Almahera, and then they get ripped apart and it's just like they just wanted to be part of something, You didn't have to tear them down right when they entered. And I feel like part of the reason that the blue tongue market is where it's at today, other than the economy, is has a lot to do with that. And I'm hoping that we could be a little bit, as a community, a little bit more positive with these newcomers, and the different kinds of like issues that some of these imports have, and get them to understand and push the northern stuff. But that's to hoping.
I it seems like the breeders that are still around. I don't know all of them, but a lot of them are really great people that love the animals and want to breed them for fun because they love them, want to share them with people, and they have no ill will or anything like that.
Hell yeah!
So
I gotta post more often then.
I am not. I'm good at posting. I just I don't always post to the groups either. Like, and I'm even an admin in one of them.
Yeah.
But so then, how can we grow the community more then?
Honestly, dude, we just need we just got to be louder about blue tongues. We got to be louder and more accepting, and just keep doing our thing. Keep producing really nice animals, which a lot of us do. You know, show the broader reptile world why blue tongues are better than a bearded dragon. Post more cute reels and TikToks of them, and just do the thing. Do the thing.
Do you do a lot of TikTok?
I go a lot on TikTok. I haven't posted on TikTok in a while, but I do know, I do understand its value. More than anything, it's difficult to maintain the posting all the time on Instagram, the full time job, the posting on this, the posting on that. I also have to do better at that.
Well, you got a lot that you do. You guys got your own podcast that you
Yeah.
do, and because you work at Imperial, right?
I do the e-commerce there. Yes.
Like full time, part time.
No, it's full time. It's full time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you do a lot like search engine optimization then, or
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. So, they used to have a shop in Miami while I was working for another company, another reptile shop in Miami. And when they were gonna do the move here to Central Florida, I was really into SEO, which is search engine optimization, and I kind of had like a plan. I just presented them like a slideshow, and I was like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure that I can get like your website, which, like, to be honest, like, it wasn't ranking, it wasn't like a notable website, like it was just like a website that they had. But I was like, I am pretty sure that, like, with these like theories that I have on just some of this research, that I can get your website to rank higher than like the majority of the big guys. And it took a couple years, took a couple tries, but now they are, and that's kind of like what I've specialized in.
so you might not be able to answer this. Like, have you noticed a like percent difference in traffic or
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's crazy, the power of a website to this day. It is insane. Just what, like, being able to rank as the first couple like things, for example, like keywords, like, you got to think about it, like if somebody, the mainstream person is going to go on Google, and they're going to, what are they going to search if they want to buy a reptile? They're going to write reptiles for sale, and they're going to just Google that, and they're going to look for reptiles for sale. And you want to make sure that you're one of those top people, because those top like 5 people are usually the people that get the most attention, that get the most traction, the most traffic, that get the most sales from that. And so you're going to want to be able to do that and replicate it for every category, pretty much every category, every product.
that that is really smart because most people they go that first page, those are the websites they're visiting,
Yep.
unless they're all sold out of that animal they want, maybe. But odds
Yep.
are, if it's a common one, they'll be able to find at least something.
Yep. 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 And then even then, there's ways that you can go on, like you could manipulate your website into creating quote unquote funnels, like even if it's not in stock, you have like an out of stock searcher, so people put in their information. Oh, this is out of stock, we'll send you, like, we'll put you on a wait list, and the second that it gets back in stock, boom, they get an email and they could purchase the animal right there. So there's different ways that you could have a website, if you're able to be consistent with it, that could benefit you a lot. But the whole thing is that you only get out of it as much as you put into it, and it takes a lot of work, which is why it's been a full-time job for me for the past 3 years.
Do you think you need, so like Imperial sells, multiple species, multiple animals, to be the best at it, or consistency? Do you think you need the wide variety of species to hit multiple markets, or
Depends on your goal. It depends on your goal. It has worked out for them because in this specific way, because they are a reptile shop. So one of the big projects that I wanted to do, that I wanted to test, I was like, hey, like, it's one thing selling animals on a website, but the real kicker is dry goods, because dry goods are not a liability. Dry goods, you can order as many as you want. Those are your reptile supplies, and then you could sell as many as you can. So my theory was, if you sync everything, the store with the physical retail store with the online store, and the inventories are the same, and you have all of the products on there, what will that do? So it's, for a reptile shop, the variety has helps a lot. But if you specialized in blue tongues, you would want to make sure that you have a variety of blue tongues, because what's going to happen is that if you sell blue tongues and you have like random gecko, those geckos are not going to rank because your website is blue tongues. But for them, the fact that they have a reptile shop, they got everything, so that it works out for them in that sense. But if somebody's googling, oh, blue tongue skinks for sale, you want to make sure that you're one of the first people there. I think, is it Cheryl that has bluetongueskinks.com?
yeah,
Yeah, so that is amazing, because if somebody searches that, she generates that traffic, she generates the sales. More than likely, I'm gonna Google it right now. I want to see if she ranks for blue tongue skinks for sale. The
I
power
would
of the
think
internet.
so, especially with the name of the website.
Yeah, but if you don't do like the background work, because it's not just your URL. If you don't do the background work, then it doesn't always benefit you. So, I mean, right away, she might not be on there, but I'm sure she's probably still on the first page. But the first couple people, just in general, if somebody were to Google that, they would generate that traffic. The power of SEO is crazy, even in the reptile community.
Does What inventory system does Imperial use?
So, um, I specifically, I mean, I run everything on Shopify. So it's just Shopify. Just that web hosting. They have their own ways that you can go in, and you can you know create like reports and stuff like that of all kinds of sorts, uh import, export different kinds of products and stuff like that. So Shopify is, in my opinion, one of the best. It is a little bit pricey because, like, every time that you want to add something new, every time that you want to add like an app, it's like an extra fee, an extra fee, an extra fee. But Shopify is pretty easy to use for all kinds of stuff.
I contemplated switching to them,
What do you have?
Wix right now,
Okay.
but I
The thing
guess
you have to, like, I I'm not gonna lie to you. Even for my website, sometimes I wonder like, what's the point of me having a Shopify store? Because what I should be doing as a breeder, not a reptile shop, is posting more blogs, posting more like written information, or like you can find me here, you can get this from there. Because I'm not posting 100 animals a week. I'm posting a couple hundred animals for a certain part of the year, and then I'm just sitting there waiting until the inventory runs dry for the next breeding season, you know? Uh, so it might not be what you would want, like, especially if your thing is more blog style. But if you are planning to have like nonstop blue tongues on there and you want to be generating the most attention to blue tongues, like they're always in stock, there's always something exciting to that's happening with blue tongues, then yeah, you're going to want to be SEO heavy. You're going to want to consider a hosting site that might be able to benefit you a little bit more, that's a little bit more S kind of SEO friendly. And that's the thing with Shopify versus Wix. Shopify is just very SEO friendly. They literally put it plain to you. Like, this is where you should put this. They don't tell you what to put, but they have sections where it's just like, this is for this. Put something here. Don't forget this. Yeah.
I'll have to look into it. Do they have a free trial?
Um
Probably.
they did. Pretty sure they still do. I remember that they did a change to that. I don't remember exactly what it was. I've just had it for like years now. So, yeah.
So, how's the podcast been?
Oh, it's been great, dude. I have a lot of fun. I'm very grateful to the guys that I do it with now. I mean, I've been doing it for so many years. I've been up here in Central Florida 3 years now, and I started it the year before. And when I started it, I was doing it with my business partner, which is my cousin. And we would just pretty much talk about our collection. We talk about blue tongues, we talk about ball pythons, and sometimes we'd have some friends over. But when I moved, we started doing it through like Zoom and stuff like that. And it was hard to get on each other's schedules. And then, through where I worked, I met Tino, I met Chucky, I met Eric, and we'd all like sit down and have these conversations. And just like, it was always reptile related, it was always a debate, but we were all like laughing and being friends, and we were developing this friendship. And I just one day was like, would you guys mind doing this if we just had microphones in front of each other? Like, I already have a podcast, and I could just extend that podcast into what it is that we're doing now. And then over the past few years, just that has been the main thing that has taken over as far as like my priorities. Like, I love doing the podcast, I love doing it with them. They're amazing people, great for the community, and I love them.
Oh, and it seems like you guys really enjoy it.
Yeah,
How
for
long
sure.
have you known them?
Since I moved here. I did not know them before. Like, all of the you could literally watch the progression of our friendship with a video camera, like on YouTube right now through all the episodes, because we developed our friendship there. I remember one of my coworkers, after like a month of us recording the podcasts, they were like, "How are you guys so close? You guys literally just met." And I'm like, "Dude, it's because we stick ourselves in a room for 2 hours at least one day a week, and we just have conversations. We have gotten to know each other so much in a short amount of time for you know so yeah, it's great. I love doing it.
Well, and it's nice you guys do have diverse, perspective on animals keeping
Yeah.
and pretty much everything damn near.
Yeah. Other than like Heather and Ron's way of keeping blue tongues, they were also a very big part on like me pushing out like a lot of the old ways that I used to do things. So I do owe a lot of that to them. A lot of the Mind you, I have kept a lot of animals outside in the years that I've been doing animals, but just they made me push a little bit more for it. Push it to like kind of like break the programming, think a little bit outside the norm, try to push forward.
So, do you prefer the podcast with, Chuck and them, or the ones where you have guests at expos?
I will always say that I always prefer doing the podcast with Chuck, Tino, and Eric because they've become like such good friends of mine. The ones at the expos, don't get me wrong, they're good, but they're amazing in their own way. You know, they're great because I get to like talk to people that I don't get to talk to that often. I get to meet new people. It's a great networking thing, and it's fun. But I every week I look forward to Sunday night recording with my friends, getting to see them because like we used to all work together and now we don't anymore. You know, for the most part. And so it's the only day that we get that I get to see them and it's just like it's just a big hangout. You know, we're talking crap while we're setting up. We set up, we sit there for another 15 minutes. When I'm like trying to rush them, I'm like, yo, we have to record. I want to go home tonight at a good time instead of at 2 in the morning to show up to work the next day early as hell. And yeah, it's just I really enjoy doing it with them.
That's probably, continued your guys' friendship too, because, some friends will grow apart when they quit jobs, switch jobs, life changes.
Yeah, for sure. Tino was the last one to leave, and I when I saw him last Sunday, he told me he's like, "Hey man, like I miss you," and I was like, "Dude, like I don't realize how long I don't realize that I haven't seen you in so long until I see you on Sunday." And I'm like, damn, dude, like even though like we do have other opportunities that we can see each other, but life gets in the way. Like we're not kids. You know, I have my full-time job. I have all of my collection. You know, I have a wife. I have my dogs. I have, like my family that I'm very close to. Like life is crazy, and I like having a day where I can appreciate my friends, in a day that we're kind of like all in service of each other and we're just there and we're hanging out and we have like a mutual goal. I used to do before I was into reptiles, I was a musician. So the band atmosphere of being with your friends stuck in a garage, like playing music really loud and leaving deaf, sorry, and like just sweating with your boys in the fucking garage and doing that whole thing. I like that. I like just friends together, common goal. Let's do it.
Do you plan on joining a band again, or is that behind you?
Man, I I would love to. Um, it was a very big part of my life. I toured for many, well, I'm not gonna say many because I'm not that old, but I toured for like pretty much 5 years after high school with a band. Like we were on a record label, we were doing a record cycle, we were doing a lot, But like most up and coming bands, like it's just sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you don't get along with the people when you're on the road. Like that band that I was in, I didn't really know them that well, because I kind of like joined them and then things just started happening really fast. So there are times where I think about joining a band and then I remember that it's like a steamroll and it's going to take over and I don't have the luxury of not having mouths to feed anymore. I have to take care of all these guys. I have to take care of
Yeah.
all the animals. So I get very obsessive with music. I have to be careful of putting myself in a band because I know that that's going to completely take over everything. I have to be careful. I get crazy with it.
Well, it's smart at least that you think ahead, that to know that you can't overextend yourself with all the
Yeah.
responsibilities that you have.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely feel like there's a part of me that's missing, like because it was my whole high school. It was after my high school. It's everything I did. And even like when I play my instrument now, like even then it feels weird because I'm just like, oh, I'm just playing this to play this. I'm not playing this for a goal, and it's like sometimes it kills a little bit of the fun for me because I'm like, dude, I should just enjoy this right now while I have it.
What about like having a jam session with someone or something, or is that going to lead to?
Yeah, I get obsessed with music.
Okay.
I get crazy with it, dude. Man.
It's good to have the passion at least, though.
Yeah, for sure.
I was never musically talented, or I didn't have any rhythm really either, so I could never play anything worthwhile. But
my thing is that I was never good at anything until I found music. So that's like what that means to me. Like I was a kid that was never picked in sports because I sucked. The only time that I was picked is because my friends felt bad. I'm little. I'm 5'2", like I never really like I don't know, I was always outside and I would like outside of like the normal like mainstream people. Like I don't know. And then I found music and I'm like I'm actually good at this. So,
Well, and that's something that, your size really doesn't matter too much.
hell yeah, dude.
You know, I mean, unless I guess if you can't reach the strings or something like that,
That's a
but
fact. That is a fact. Or if they put the mic stand a little too high and then I'm like, "Oh, well, now this is embarrassing. I have to lower it in front of the crowd." Thanks, bro.
well, it's better than standing on a stool or something.
True.
Have you seen your Brettles breed at all, or is it still too early for them to?
Um, they bred last year. Last year was the first year that I was keeping them outside, and they did breed. I produced eggs. And then this year we're just trying it again. They're still in their like brumation brumation station. That's what I'm gonna call it. They're in their brumation station. I have one of my the female is in an arboreal hide that she just hangs out there until the temperatures start going up, and the male has its like spends time in his own place. They kind of like obviously they know that they're in the same enclosure, but they really do leave each other alone and only really like interact with each other if it's necessary, with breeding and stuff like that. Other than that, they do their thing.
How big is their enclosure?
It is I always forget. It's like 6 feet. It's either 6 feet, 6 by 6 by 5, or 6 by 6 by 6. It's one of those. Yeah.
Well, either way, that's still a good size.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're
It
like,
gives multiple arboreal options
yeah,
and more terrestrial.
yes, exactly.
Do you just have a normal like egg box, or do you do like a heated one?
I have a hide. I just have like one of those. I think it's an Exoterra one. It's one of my friends gave it to me. It's like a corner hide, and she just laid eggs in there. Yeah,
Easy enough.
yeah, yeah. It was cool. I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was hyped. Jeremy Turgeon, Brassman Reptiles, he helped me a lot throughout the process. So the second that it happened, I like texted and I was like, "Oh, like it's here." It happened.
Now, are yours just normal, or is one a hypo?
No, they're both normal. They're both normal. I kind of have this like theory with the way that I do my projects, and it might be very different than most people, but also like I wasn't bred into this industry. It just kind of like happened upon me, where I don't really heavily invest into like a certain project that I'm doing until I feel confident that I can get the animals to produce. And I don't usually start with babies. I usually start either with like very well started subadults or I start with adults. And in this case, I found a female that somebody had pretty much as a pet. She was 7 feet. She was never bred. And then I found a male, which was a very similar situation. So they were very healthy animals. And then I threw them outside, made sure that they behaved, and they did the job. So now
Well,
because of
and
that, I'll probably invest into other stuff.
even though they're normals, they still got some great red coloring to them.
Oh yeah, they're gorgeous animals, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to work with them. My whole thing was I knew that when I moved up here to Central Florida that I wanted to find a python species that I can breed outdoors that can handle the humidity, that can handle the cold, and that can handle the heat. So the Brettles was like the perfect animal for that.
Now, on their scales, is it because I was talking to Dave on the episode with him about the albino Brettles that Joe Ball did, like the Darwin albino to this, like the black
Okay.
Brettles. And that had like more of a vibrant orange, kind of like the lavas. And he thought that was because like the Brettles have like a natural red pigment to the scales. Does that seem the case then?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say that the animals are red. Yeah. A good Brettles is red, you know? Mind you, part of the body might be a little bit brown, but it I'd consider it red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it will either way. We'll have that hue to hold over.
Yeah.
So, what projects would you get into then with them?
Well, so what I did with the funds that I generated from the baby bridles that I produced this year, I pretty much just funneled that straight into I got a pair of diamond pythons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the next thing. And that in itself is like I did the opposite of what I usually do. Instead of buying adults, like that's I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get babies because what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna get them into the juvenile stage, and then I'm going to try to raise them outside, so that way they're 100% acclimated into this area. So that's the next thing.
Who'd you get those from?
I'm really bad with names. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Give me 1 second. So I found it on Morph Market. I was like literally going crazy trying to find these. And it's like every time that I found one that I wanted, something would always happen.
Was
Um,
it GS Reptiles?
it was not. It was Terry Burwell. That's TB Snakes, and he only had one listed. He had a female listed. So when I messaged him, I had asked him. I was like, "Oh, do you have like males too? Do you have like other options?" And then he sent me a bunch of pictures, a bunch of videos. He even sent me videos of like the stuff that he was holding back that he raised from like a year ago so I can get like an idea of how they're gonna look. Like he gave me amazing customer service. I was like, dude, nobody in the reptile community does this anymore. Um, but yeah, so I got them from him.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like he went above and beyond.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, they're pricey animals, so he did a good job.
Well, and they're pricey because, they're kind of rare. They're not all around. They're harder to breed. They got to get pretty cold.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Well, that's some that would work perfect outside for you because they need what, less than 50 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So, say you have a good success with the Brettles again, where are you gonna put that towards?
Um, to be determined.
Okay.
I would like to maybe spend some of that into some blue tongue morphs, but I don't know. I don't know. I got to think on it. I got to think on it.
Well, and sometimes it depends what's available at the time, and if
Yeah.
something pops up that you're gonna regret passing up, that you might want to put that money towards that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, a big goal that I have just in general for this year, God willing, is that I want to get like a shed in my backyard so I can take cuz right now the animals are inside of my house. I put a wall to like separate the living room, so I made like a small room in my house, and that's where I have the animals. But I kind of want to get them out of here. I want to have like its own space, so that way I could separate work from home life, kind of thing.
Have you thought how big you're gonna go?
Um, yes and no. I think a 20-foot by 20-foot shed is more than enough because I also want to have a place where we can do the like a specific place where this is the podcast area, so I'd be able to have like my collection and then podcast place, and it just stays like that always. We have a place that all we got to do is sit down and turn things on instead of set up everything, put everything away, set up everything, put everything away.
Since you can keep outside stuff, I think you'd be good. Like my garage is 20 by 24, and I got to keep other stuff in here also, but I filled that up surprisingly quick.
Yeah. Right now, are you familiar with the ARS cages?
Yep.
So I have three of like kind of like these large ARS cages and then four sea serpent hatchling racks. That's kind of like all of my space right now. So I think with that 20 by 20, like it'll have enough space where I could maybe get where I could get other racks for the blue tongues because I kind of want to keep them how Frank Payne is doing them, the ones that I'm gonna leave inside. And then I'm gonna probably use these for my ball pythons. Yeah.
Are you gonna add a lot more ball pythons?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of in a transitional period with the ball pythons right now because the market's a little bit weird. Not a little bit, a lot of it weird. And I know that I know that the market will go up again, but I also know that I have a lot of projects that I've kind of been sitting on that I think it's time to move, but I think that unfortunately it's kind of like the majority of the projects. So I don't know. I don't know the direction that I'm gonna take. I don't know if I'm gonna kind of like liquidate a lot of it and then reinvest it into some up and coming babies, or what I should do. It's a weird balancing act when you try to consider that like I kind of want to go full time on this. I want to get a shed so that way I have like a workspace that's like very comfortable, very free flowing. Just a lot to think about. A lot to think about.
I would, like you said, think about, but also, you know, budget it all out too. It's a little different where you are, but like up here, we'd have to insulate the crap out of it with
Yeah.
spray insulation because the winter, you'd still probably want to insulate it pretty good,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but
Dude,
that's still an
there was a time where I was even thinking about doing like a concrete, like actual house, like a small, like kind of like an in-law quarters in my backyard. But I was like, that's way too expensive. That's out of the realm of things. So I'm thinking a shed, but like an insulated shed, something that could still quote unquote function like an in-law quarters if it had to. Something that is livable, that's comfortable.
they have some of the different sheds with different more normal looking doors
Yeah.
versus you know the ghetto style ones where they'll at least look nice at your house or wherever you put it.
Have you seen like those barn dominiums?
Yep.
So think of that, but small. That's kind of
Yeah,
what I'm thinking.
yeah, I think that'd be perfect. I
Yeah.
mean, if you had the room and the money, I'd say maybe go 30 by 20 just to be on the safe side,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's another cost.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot to think about, man.
I thought about adding a 20 by 10 because then I wouldn't need any special permits or anything
Mm.
and attach it to the garage so I could have like either a baby quarantine room or put I breed dubia roaches, so put them in a quarantine room out there and then maybe get some tree monitors or something.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, that's like I think low end 10 grand with insulation, AC, and all that good shit.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So to wrap it up, what is one tip you would give to a new blue tongue breeder?
Don't get discouraged because there are times where it can be discouraging. There are times it's not for the faint of heart. It's not the easiest thing in the world. When you're pairing your animals for the first time, you might get a little bit nervous because they're aggressive. But don't get discouraged. Just keep trying it, and you'll see that there's a lot of love in it, and you will enjoy it. They're amazing. The superior pet lizard, always.
Definitely are.
Yeah.
And, like you said, my first year I was 0 for 3. I got, a ton of slugs and no babies. And, I figured it out, adjusted, and here we are.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Yoshi. Where could everyone find you if they want any ball pythons, blue tongues, or brettles from you?
Pretty much Modern Reptile Shop on every social media platform, modernreptileshop.com, Modern Reptile on YouTube, and the Reptiles with podcast.
Perfect. Thank you again for coming on. You have a great rest of your night.
For sure, you too, buddy. And we'll do this again for sure.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right.